For those of you who have never been to an event before, safety obviously is our number one concern. So just be kind, be courteous, and communication is key. So common flight line etiquette at flying events like this is just communicate, just yell out what you're doing. Specifically, if you're going to be on the field, if you crash, if you have a down plane or a quad, you need to run out there and get it, yell it out. If you're doing a low pass, obviously you want to have a spotter, but just yell out low pass, just yell out what you're doing. So everybody around you, when you go to the flight line, the number one thing you should be thinking about is all the other people and all the other pilots around you. That being said too, if you see somebody who is struggling to fly or with whatever it is they are doing, we encourage everybody to help out. That's what Flight Fest is all about. That's what Flight Fest is all about. If you see somebody who's not having a very good experience and you can help them, definitely do so. We really appreciate that. Austin?
So something to bear in mind today, and obviously, not all the pilots are here today, so please share this information, pass it along. We're going to kind of rely on you guys to kind of be our megaphone to the rest of the event. But we're going to have a lot more pilots today. We're going to have I would say probably about double today than we had yesterday. And so that means that flight line courtesy, this becomes increasingly important the more crowded the flight line gets. And so having a crowded flight line is one of my favorite things about Flight Fest. It's just awesome, and it's a little bit chaotic, and it's just a full sky. That's one of the things we really like. But we have about 700 pilots pre-registered right now. We didn't see 700 pilots yesterday, so
yeah,
it's awesome. Thank you. So there's going to be a lot of people to share the sky with today, and so we really appreciate your guys' courtesy and your guys' effort to make that as enjoyable experience as we can for everybody else. Something else we're going to do a little bit differently today is we're going to have our first shift of our flight line safety crew, or I guess maybe it might be our second shift at this point. We're going to put up a little bit of caution tape along the flight line. One thing that we noticed is that the spectators, are kind of creeping up closer and closer to the flight line. And that's something, just from a safety perspective, makes us a little bit nervous. As a pilot, you want to know that there's not people directly behind you. You want to know there's not people that are unaccounted for to the side of you. You want to have that peace of mind when you're flying, knowing that you're not, worried about hitting somebody that's spectating. So we're going to put up a little bit of caution tape. I think we're just going to wrap it around the front of the tent pegs here. And so we're going to have, in front of the tent pegs of this front side, we're going to have that be the pilot and spotter area. And then the area behind that is going to be the spectator area. So basically, if you're in and amongst the tents, you're spectating, and if you're out on the flight line, you're actively preparing to fly, or you're preparing to spot somebody who is flying. So I think that's just a good rule of thumb that we can all kind of help encourage everybody else to abide by. The nature of caution tape is that people kind of creates a nice little mental barrier. And so I think if we can encourage people to stay behind that line, that's going to be the number one thing that our flight line safety crew, and we're going to have a volunteer meeting here in about 15 minutes, is going to be focusing on that today, is making sure spectators are staying behind the caution tape. That's not to be a bummer to anybody, but just safety is really important, and so we want to go that extra mile what we have to do to make that happen. Really happy with how yesterday went overall. Really, really safe so far. We did not have any single, major injuries of any kind. I saw people being respectful, people being helpful. That's what Flight Fest is all about. So that's awesome. I really appreciate that, guys. From how yesterday went, does anybody have any questions about anything? Is there anything we can clarify or clear up?
Kind of just explain the responsibilities of a spotter.
Absolutely. So one thing that you do see on the signs here is that spotters required. So it's really helpful to have a spotter. They can help you. It's less impactful when you're at doing a combat or something like that, where it is kind of chaotic in its nature. But if you're doing some significant flying, so if you're doing some flying out there, it is really helpful to have a spotter out there. And it's basically what the spotter is doing is they're your peripheral eyes and ears. So while you're focusing only on your aircraft and what your aircraft's doing, you can't look around when you're flying. That spotter's looking around for you. And so they're saying, hey, you have somebody that's approaching low to your left. Or right now, there's somebody that's above you. Or right now that there's, there's a spectator that ran out to grab a piece of an airplane, or whatever the case may be. So they're your eyes and ears. They're helping you focus on what you're doing in the surroundings around you. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Something else that went really well yesterday was FPV frequency control. We had people flying FPV over the whole flight line, which is just fine, but they were doing it from the multi-GP frequency control tent. So they were doing it properly, they were getting in there. We want to encourage you guys to do that again today. You know, if you're wanting to fly FPV, if you want to come out and play on the main flight line, if you're not really into racing or whatever, that's fine. Just get in a fun fly time slot over at the multi-GP tent and come over here and play. Any other questions, guys? Okay, cool. Well, let's go have some fun today. Thanks you guys so much.
Cool. Yeah.
Sorry guys, one more thing here.
Real quick, maybe that's what you were going to say. I just want to let you guys know that Flight Fest wouldn't be possible with all the awesome volunteers. See a lot of the guys in the orange shirts. Literally, this event and all of the previous Flight Fests that we've had wouldn't exist without volunteers. So if you see a volunteer, make sure you thank them. And if you guys are interested in volunteering, we already have an army of about 80. How many people, Andre? About 80-ish volunteers who are helping out already. We could always use more. Andre right here is our volunteer coordinator. If you're interested in helping out in any way, just a couple hours each day, you'd want to talk to Andre. So thank you, and thanks to the volunteers. And volunteer meeting is at 8:30. It's going to be in the expo hall.
Alright guys, that was the pilots meeting. I'm having my coffee, I'm getting warmed up here. Gonna be flying my DRAC pretty soon. I've got the DRAC on back t-shirt today. I'm gonna see if I can get people who come up and say hi to me to sign it for me, because I'd like to see how many signatures I could get on my shirt. So I'm gonna run back to my camp, start getting batteries charged up, and out to fly. Wonderful event. It's so cool. One of the things that I was talking about yesterday is that I'm always flying maybe a couple of batteries and then I've got to run home. So to have a complete 4 days, or actually I'm going to stay for 3 days of just flying is just amazing. So this is quite the event. I'm having way more fun than I ever thought I would. So, and I'm camping too, which is something I love. So, talk to you guys later.